So now, without further ado, I'm going to introduce our speaker. Coleman Watts is the host of the YouTube show Think This Through. Coleman spoke at AhaCon and will be speaking at Center for Inquiry Con this summer. He debunks cons, cults, and conspiracies with a humorous flair, drawing on his own experience of falling down the rabbit hole himself. Please welcome Coleman Watts.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for all coming out here today to listen to what you're about to hear. I don't know if you know what you're in for, but we're going to talk about conspiracy theories. We're going to talk about misinformation and cults and all of that good stuff. So let's just make sure that we're sort of on the same page to start off with. Can you raise your hand if you think that conspiracy theories are a problem? Any kind of problem for democracy, society, safety, anything? Okay, that's good. Okay, now what I want you to take your hand and then turn it around like this. And now just use it to pat yourself on the back. Because you see, you are the special ones. You have figured it out, right? You are in the know. You get it. The conspiracy theories are a problem for other people, right? Not for you, because you're too smart for that. So we're going to talk about those problematic other people today, because you, brilliant, beautiful, gorgeous people in the audience today, you do not fall for psychological tricks like flattery. That would be silly. No. And don't worry, this talk is not going to involve any calls to introspection or anything like that, because we're only going to be criticizing people in the groups and political parties that you don't like. Because you have literally nothing in common with those people. Literally zilch. So anyway, don't worry about you for now. Just let's talk about me. My name is Coleman Watts, and I have a YouTube channel where I sort of am in the process of working through some things that I used to dabble in. So whether it's conspiracy theories or psychics or grifters or pseudoscience or aliens or ghosts or misinformation or just really, really, really bad ideas, I have experienced a lot of this stuff firsthand. So I'm here because I'm sure you'd like to hear my story. So let's talk about other people. Do you know that one friend or former coworker or maybe like former high school classmate you used to have? The one that you sort of lost touch with over the years, but then recently, I don't know, maybe during the last election or something, they popped back up in your feed and something seemed a little off. Like, you're like, why is this person saying stuff like this? And maybe you got a little bit curious or nosy and you looked them up and you're like, what is going on here? And then one day they really crossed the line. They made that one post, you know the one, right? I know you know the one because I made a screenshot of it and it's right here. This post, and that was it. And you were done with that person. Yeah, raise your hand if you know someone like that. You know what I'm talking about? Okay, all right. It's not a trick this time, but just the number of hands that were raised just now, that's not right? Like, the world is not supposed to be like that. For me, I can tell that story about several people. And so I want to tell one such story. And for that, we're going to need a little bit of a history refresh, a very recent history. So do you remember in 2021, there was a little disagreement about the results of the election, the presidential election. And on one hand, you had the facts and the counts and the certified results and the settled court cases. On the other hand, you had Donald Trump's feelings, and they were not good feelings. He was very upset. And as we all know, the stages of grief involve first denial, second destroy democracy, and then the third stage of grief is anger. And so he acted out with some like perfect phone calls and press conferences at lawn and garden centers and recounts. And there was a recount in Arizona. This was run by a company called Cyber Ninjas. And they were looking for something like bamboo fibers in the ballots that would prove that, Chinese people had touched them or something. So they never found what they were looking for, but they were very committed to it. And their CEO was a guy named Doug Logan. Well, it turns out that Doug Logan was my school roommate Yeah, ooh, there we are. There's Doug right there, and there's me looking so bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and excited about the future of the world, which was going to be so amazing. And he looks basically the same now, except now he's got that goofy "I didn't do my homework" expression in front of a Senate subcommittee, and trying to not answer their questions. I shared a room with that guy for a year, and it never once occurred to me that he was going to try to destroy our democracy. He didn't show the signs of that at the time. Although at the end of that year, I did kind of lose touch with him because he went off and joined an evangelical church, and I'm not exactly sure what happened after that. Um, all I know is what popped up in the news after this incident. Apparently, Donald Trump didn't pay his contract, and his company went bankrupt. Who could predict that, right? When has Donald Trump ever not paid his contracts? I'm shocked. So that's a real shame. You all raised your hand about knowing someone like that, or almost everybody did. How many people have tried to have a conversation with that person about what they think? A few, okay. How many of those conversations went really well? Great. Yeah, I mean, I think about what it would be like to try to talk to Doug today about his beliefs. And, on the one hand, we have this nice shared history, right? Like we went to school together. We were both into Star Wars, and he really tried to get me into The Princess Bride. I wasn't that into it, but we had some things in common, right? And on the other hand, I value my democracy, and he values whatever he values, and probably thinks that my values are coming from Satan or something. So there's a bit of an impasse there, right? A bit of a cornerstone. I've had conversations with other people, though. Some of those conversations have been really good, before they get to the part where they tell me to fuck off. But before that, some of these conversations have been quite productive. And we can find some common ground. Other folks I can relate to because I used to be a believer in a lot of things. If that's too small to read, let me blow it up for you. It's all the fringe. I have at least entertained the possibility of many, many things, from Atlantis to chemtrails to go up there sometime if you want to read it. But I didn't start off like that. I didn't start off wearing a tinfoil hat. Nobody's born with a tinfoil hat on their head. I think had a kind of a normal upbringing. And I was, back in the day when I was in college with Doug, I was an earnest, sincere person who wanted to make a positive difference in the world. I cared about the environment, and some of my influences at the time were books like this. I wanted to learn about the world and read people like Noam Chomsky and Howard Zinn and Michael Moore, Derek Jensen, Daniel Quinn. We're doing a little weirder here. But some of those people had good ideas. All of them had some kooky ideas. And that sort of mix of good ideas and weird ideas sort of, it all influenced me. And I also was interested in deeper truths. I was a seeker. So I was interested in finding out the truths from psychics and gurus and channelers and looking for spiritual solutions. Looking back at this, I don't recommend any of these books, by the way. You can take a screenshot of this as things to not read. But because it all there's some good stuff in there, but it's there has to be a conspiracy going on if these spiritual truths aren't more widely known. If everybody isn't healing themselves with sound baths, what's the cover up here? What is it that big science doesn't want you to know? That's where all of this stuff is going. And so I would say that this upbringing made me conspiracy open-minded. Speaking of seeking, I took a meditation class once. This is a fun story. So I had no idea that this group was a cult. I just went and took a meditation class with them. And I didn't know that they had a compound or were supposedly teaching people to fly or just wanted my money, although the course was quite expensive. I just took the class from this guy. I mean, they were literally teaching us to sit there and do nothing. I don't know why I took more than one class. I mean, you've mastered it. Look at that. But during the course of these classes, the guru really wanted to hammer this point home for some reason. This should have been a red flag or something. He said, during the course of your meditation, sometimes the insights that you gain from the universe aren't all that useful. For example, one time I came out of a deep meditation with the profound belief that I'd solved world hunger. And then a few hours later, as I reflected on it, I realized that maybe the world hunger wouldn't be solved by Xeroxing bagels. He thought that was an important, like, Dharma point or something. So, chalk that up to a short list, but way too long, of cults that I almost joined. I could have been recruited by any of these folks that I brushed up against, not knowing who they were, not knowing anything else about them. The way that cults present themselves is always has a veneer that doesn't make you think they are what they really are. If you've ever encountered a group, by the way, just PSA, if you've ever encountered a group and you're like thinking back and you remember, you're like, I wonder what was up with those people. You know what? Google it. Google those folks. You might just Google it. You might just answer that question. I didn't. And look where it got me. I did end up in a cult-like group. And I thought this will never happen to me because that's who it happens to. And I will tell you about it. But I'm not done talking about other people because they're the real problem here. Let's face it. So let's check in with a couple other of my former friends. And where are they now? 2 examples. These folks are not public figures, so I'm not going to name names. At least I hope they don't end up in the news. So I knew a woman who was a climate activist. She organized rallies for green social justice. She got the whole town involved. This was a really great person and a role model. And she would get up and give impassioned speeches about how we had to fix the problem of environment, lower our carbon footprint, all of this stuff. And she also was very critical of the government and the media for not doing enough about these problems. And those criticisms were not unjustified at first until it got into stuff like chemtrails and how they are poisoning us, or fluoride and how they want to control our minds. And it kept going downhill, and I saw her post on social media a few years back, and it was like militant QAnon anti-vax stuff. That's where she's ended up, as far as I know today. I knew another guy also around that same time, years ago, whose life revolved around organic food and clean eating and health and wellness. He actually gave up his tech job to be a full-time dairy farmer so he could drink raw milk all day because that was the best thing for you. And he believed that the government and Monsanto and Big Pharma and the FDA were all conspiring to cover up the truth about raw milk and prevent people from accessing it. Well, you can guess where that went. So last I heard from him, he was fully into deep state anti-Semitic conspiracy theories, like the rock bottom of the conspiracy theory pile. I actually reached out to him because I was just kind of curious, and we had a pretty good series of conversations where he explained his point of view. And I sort of postured myself as like, tell me more, and because I just wanted to know. And sum it up, he views himself as the hero of the story, as the good guy fighting the evil forces, dark forces of the world. That's how a lot of people see themselves who are in that sort of world. And this is not just a handful of people, right? This is a global trend. Now, I promised there would be no introspection in this talk, and I lied a little bit, because if you don't think that you're vulnerable to misinformation, to manipulation, that makes you vulnerable. Because those who recruit people like you do know your vulnerabilities. That gives them an advantage over you if you don't know what they are. So it's very important to learn about your own vulnerabilities. Let's talk about a couple of those. One that I've noticed, this isn't a real scientific term, but it's called the horseshoe effect. I see some nods. The idea is that once you get to the extreme ends of the political or ideological spectrum, it's not so much polar opposites, but they sort of bend around like a horseshoe. And so if you start off as a centrist with a mild concern about global warming, that can drive you towards becoming an environmentalist. Nothing wrong with that. It can get you into eating organic food and natural remedies. And then it gets you into this sort of chemophobia, fear of toxins, which might drive you towards believing in stories about chemtrails, which can lead you to thinking it's conspiracy theory about the government controlling the weather. And then you're all the way around the horseshoe to believing that global warming is a hoax, which is the opposite of the belief that you started with. But these are the little breadcrumbs that you can follow down this trail. And I think that if there's one brain that sort of that spans this horseshoe perfectly well, it would be the brain of Robert F. Kennedy Jr. And I think that the two ends of the horseshoe sort of like bolt onto him like Frankenstein's monster. I mean, or maybe just go straight through. There's plenty of room in there. I made a video about him. You can check it out here, all about where his brain has evolved from or devolved from. A couple more examples of this horseshoe effect. Who's heard of Russell Brand? Great. Do you know that he started off his social media career teaching meditation and spiritual, wisdom? And he was also very deeply critical of conservative politics, Fox News, deeply critical of capitalism, super liberal. And where is he today? Well, he's into like deep state, QAnon, MAGA conspiracy theories, and accused of being a sex offender. So there's also that. There's another guy a little bit less widely known called J.P. Sears. He was a new age comedian, also a life coach, super liberal as well, super into gun control, gay rights, all of those things. And not so much about the gun control anymore, except that he sometimes uses safety. But he is also deadly serious now about believing that the world is being run by Satan, super into QAnon, MAGA conspiracy theories. The same channel that he posted the things that he's saying the opposite of, he's now posting the exact opposite of those things. And I was just so curious. I actually went back to some of his earliest videos, and I ended up doing a not one, but two-part series. These are my videos that I made about him, which you can look up right there. And one of the treasures that I found, one of the spiritual teachings from J.P. Sears that I found so enlightening, was one of the earliest videos that he made before he even got into comedy, where he was actually trying to make money as a spiritual life coach. And so that's what his videos were. It was just serious videos about spirituality. Here's a little clip I want to show you from a video where he is doing a book review, basically. He started off the video by saying he doesn't read. I don't know. He then went on to recommend some books. So anyway, this is what he said about this book and its authorship. The book claims to be authored not by a person, but a channeled spiritual entity. So let me just tell you, in his own words, how he rectifies that fact in his mind.
And until he died, he refused to allow his name to be attached to the book because he says, from his point of view, he channeled the book. He said, I didn't write it. I was the hand that recorded the book, but he said the book wasn't by me. I'm not willing to take credit for it. If nothing else, it makes a great story. Maybe true, maybe false, or maybe somewhere in the middle.
Maybe true, maybe false, maybe somewhere in the middle. Who cares, right? Who cares about the truth? That is the spiritual teaching that I learned from J.P. Sears that anchored me in his worldview all the way from there till now. And I think that is a really important thread that runs through so many of these people's careers. When people make these 360 degree, 180 degrees, multiple degree shifts from one paradigm to another, from one ideology to another, it's not about the truth. Okay, so if it's not about the truth, what's it about? Well, what's trending? What makes money? It's a great unintended spiritual insight that JP has shared with us here. All right, I'm going to shift gears for a second and talk about something that I haven't talked about in a presentation before, but I mentioned it a couple times. But there was a great article in the Skeptical Inquirer. As Bonnie mentioned, I'm going to be speaking at their conference in the summer. And so I've been reading their magazine for a few years now. Great article by Dr. Andrea Love about organic food. And I just want to say that long before I got into any sort of other conspiracies that we're going to be talking about today, I was buying organic food. And long after I got out, I was buying organic food. Like after I started my channel about critical thinking, I was still buying organic food. It is probably my longest running belief that has now been debunked. And I just want to share with you, summarize this article for you, because it was eye-opening for me. I'd heard some of this stuff before, but it really solidified it in my mind. So we've all been told that spraying chemicals on food is bad. Poisons can be bad, absolutely. But what they don't tell you in the marketing over organics is that this is a picture of an organic farm. Here's the farmers spraying toxic chemicals on the organic produce. They need protective gear because it's quite poisonous. Here's another organic farmer spraying poisons on his farm, another organic farmer, and this is organic farming. The rules of organic farming are that you can use poison as much as you want as long as they're from natural sources and they're approved. Now, the problem is that natural doesn't mean safe. As she pointed out, it's the appeal to nature fallacy. Arsenic is natural. From the article, she just pointed out this middle one here, which is an organic approved herbicide, is 5 times more poisonous to humans than its counterpart that is synthetic. And it's applied 5 times more per acre and about 5 times as often. Bottom line, this method of farming is worse for the environment, worse for our health, more expensive, but it's very well marketed. Very well marketed. I believe it for many, many, many years because we all want to be healthy. We all want to be safe. We all want our kids to be healthy. That's a shared goal that we should all have. There's nothing wrong with that. One last thing I'll share from the article. She mentioned that the myth that organic food does not contain trace residues of chemicals is not true. What's true is that it's not tested for pesticides and herbicides because it doesn't have to be tested because it's exempt. Now, why am I saying this? Well, I think that once we start down with any sort of false belief and we don't challenge it, we can open ourselves up to other false beliefs slipping in. Because this system, the marketing that tells us one thing that's not true, is undermining our trust in science. I'm not saying that science is something that should be blindly trusted. Science is not a belief system. Science is a method of testing and getting results. Here's the tests that she's published in her article. Here's the results. Scientific-minded person would say, okay, the results say we should eat this one, not this one, because the bottom one is safer. But when we have our trust undermined, then why should we trust anything else that science tells us? Another personal story for me, I am literally standing in front of you because of science. This is an MRI scan of my back when one of my discs shattered into 100 pieces inside my back. So if it wasn't for science, I would not be standing here. I would be rolling up in a wheelchair like Professor X, and that would be cool in a way. He's very cool, but I'm glad to be walking. I'm glad to be standing. I injured my back lifting something heavy, as you do, a few years ago. And I immediately felt something crunch, and I could, over the next few days, got worse and worse. I could barely walk. But, life goes on. So I was out running errands anyway, or hobbling errands. And I came across this building, very official sign that said Back Pain Center, official looking medical building. And I was like, all right, I'm not going to be a tough guy anymore. I'm going to go in. Check myself into this doctor's office. Well, it wasn't a doctor's office. It was a chiropractor's office. And the chiropractor that came up to greet me looked like about half my age, looked like he didn't have a clue what he was doing, looked like he'd just come out of medical school, but they don't go to medical school as chiropractors. They don't have to because they're not doctors. And they don't have to meet any sort of scientific standards for what they do. So he took an x-ray. This is not the x-ray that he took. He took just an old-fashioned x-ray from a very old-looking x-ray machine of my back and looked at it with me afterwards and said, well, gee, Mr. Watts, the x-ray shows that you're not standing up straight. That was his diagnosis. And his treatment plan for me was to sell me some very expensive supplements, like turmeric and some other stuff, I don't know, and put me on this electroshock machine to try and stimulate the muscles. Did nothing. Thankfully, did nothing. That's the best you can hope for with alternative medicine, is that it does nothing. Didn't cause burns or anything. And he told me to come back next week for more of the same. I went to a real doctor. Thankfully, my fiance convinced me to go to a real doctor. They took this real MRI. They put me into a real MRI machine, and they took me into and I met it with a real surgeon who looked like he'd been doing it much longer than I've been alive. And he said, he looked at my MRI results and he said, Mr. Watts, this rupture is impressive even for me. And he said, I can't promise anything. I can't promise anything, but I'll try my best. And I walked out of that hospital 2 days later. And this all happened 2 weeks before I was supposed to get married. And after some recovery, I was dancing at my wedding with my wife. So this story has a happy ending. And my conspiracy story has a happy ending too. But it gets dark for a little bit. So I'm gonna tell my story. It was a very weird year of my life. It was about 11 years ago. I was indoctrinated into a group that I found out later believed in white nationalism, xenophobia, social Darwinism. It was basically a cult formed around an alt-right ideology and conspiracy theories like the Great Replacement or Pizzagate. None of this was told to me up front. You don't learn about Xenu on day one. It's Scientology class. It's a good thing that these things were hidden because none of this was appealing to me at all. This is not how I was raised. These were not my core values at all. But a couple things. One, I was an easy target because I already believed some of the untrue things that sort of were gateways to those other beliefs. Come on, Coleman, you already know that 9/11 was an inside job. Why can't these other theories be true too? Of course 9/11 was an inside job. It wasn't, by the way. Just look it up. Ultimately, though, what actually got me in was relationships, because my closest friends and family had at this point become deeply indoctrinated, and they one day came up to me and said, Coleman, you're either with us or you're against us. That was a tough choice, because you either embrace some conspiracy theories that are sort of in line with other conspiracy theories that you've heard throughout your life, or you give up your relationships with your closest family and friends. I didn't have the critical thinking skills to be able to debate these issues either. So I had beliefs, and I felt like I was a good person, and I felt like I knew what I valued, but I couldn't argue for those things from first principles or anything like that. Like, why do I believe in social justice? Well, why? Well, it's good, right? It's good, and everybody around me agrees with me, right? It's good, okay. But why? Isolate yourself from this group, and surround yourself with a group that believes the opposite, and argue for it. And I found that I couldn't. Even if I could, making those arguments would mean giving up my closest family and friends. As that year of my life went on, it got weirder, of course, and the group became increasingly obsessed with this emerging savior figure, a man who was going to save the country and the world, bring about world peace, stop the plans of the deep state and the evil cabal, drain the swamp. I think you know what savior figure I'm talking about. So, at the end of that year, I voted for Donald Trump. You're welcome. And in hindsight, hear me out. In hindsight, the prophecy has kind of come true, because, he was going to reveal all of the corruption in Washington, D.C. And he was going to reveal who was behind all of the, abuse of the bad stuff being done to minors, right? I think that's pretty clear now. I think we've discovered who's the most corrupt person in Washington, D.C. and who's behind a lot of those problems. So, it's true. Some conspiracy theories come true. The happy ending here is that at the end of that year, the cult sort of fell apart. I was accused of being insufficiently loyal, which is a badge I now wear with pride. And I got out, and thankfully, we're all okay now. It was a long process. It was messy. It took me a long time to figure out what happened, even to figure out what happened. And some, by the way, resources that helped me along the way. Dr. Stephen Hassan wrote a book called Combating Cult Mind Control, and also this follow-up book, The Cult of Trump. Nick West wrote Escaping the Rabbit Hole. And please, for the love of Carl, if you have never read this book, read The Demon Haunted World. I read it, and then I had to read it again immediately afterwards. So I was in this sort of recovery process and feeling like I was ready to rejoin all of the sane and normal people in the world. And then I noticed something weird happening to all those sane and normal people. They all seemed to be headed the other way in droves. And I was like, whoa, wait a minute, guys. What is going on here? Because there was this trend that it seemed to be driven a lot by social media algorithms, which was by this point in the late 2010s, effectively controlling what people watched and controlling what people saw. And that hasn't really changed. We rely on our feeds to tell us what we are want to see. And those feeds, as I'm sure you know, are designed to push more and more engaging content, which can be more and more extreme content. So, you can go from a mild concern over acid rain to chemtrails. Here's a video of Alex Jones. Let's watch that. And now, and he starts talking about chemicals turning the frogs gay. And this is how you go down the rabbit hole. And some influencers were seizing on this opportunity, this boost from social media, and figuring out how to rise to the top. And I'm not saying that the smartest or the best and the brightest were rising to the top. It involved a degree of luck. But for whatever reason, they were bursting onto the mainstream. While criticizing the mainstream media, guys like this were becoming the mainstream media. We're overshadowing the mainstream media. Guys like this were profiting off of the culture war or shouting facts, don't care about your feelings while trying to upset people, mainstreaming the conversation about white nationalism, telling lies about school shootings and all sorts of other things, and carrying lobsters in their jackets, for God's sake. Like the lobsters were cooked. Like this, where's Admiral Akbar to come in and say, it's a crap? None of this is possible without social media. Not at this scale, right? I decided to graph social media. I think it's kind of shaped like a pyramid. Like a pyramid, I don't know what you call it, something. And who rises to the top of the social media pyramid? Well, it's people who are able to vomit out the most content. Definitely doesn't matter if it's true or not. Listen to JP Sears, he's got the truth there. Or people who are able to get the most attention are the ones that are able to profit. And what falls to the bottom? Well, science, logic, facts, journalism, nuance, and complexity. None of that matters. If this isn't like brand new, it's not like just in the past, just in the age of the internet, we've had people like this. Certainly in the past, we've had our L. Ron Hubbards, we've had our Jim Joneses, but those guys were fighting upstream. They were fighting against the system. They didn't have a system built for them that was already pyramid shaped, that already had a system where you could monetize a cult following online. Like the social media, you become a follower, right? That's the system. So were there fewer of those people back then, or were they just less successful? I think it's a mix of both. I'm no psychologist, but there have been some interesting experiments to show that we all have some dormant narcissism within us that can be amplified. But it's also this effect of having a network with incentives, right? All you have to do now to be a cult leader is just log in and play the game. And it doesn't matter if you personally rise to the top, somebody will. Somebody who's playing the game is going to succeed. And this whole system is set up to promise you upward mobility. You can gain more and more followers, and people who have more followers than you can turn around. They're maybe not at the top, but they can turn around and sell courses to you to teach you how to gain more and how to climb the ladder faster. Ultimately, everybody wants followers. Here's how you can subscribe to my channel online. Subscribe now or the world will end. Trust me, bro. We all crave attention. So I started my YouTube channel and I wanted to push back against misinformation. I wanted to teach critical thinking. And I wanted to also sort of work through my journey. My very first video that I published was about going down the rabbit hole.
And you know what that means.
What does that mean?
It means buckle your seatbelt, Dorothy, because Kansas is going bye-bye.
That's what it means. Anyway.
Whoa! The rabbit hole! Help! Help! Dorothy! Kansas is going bye-bye! Help! Quick! Let's take blue one!
You take the blue pill. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe.
Whoa! I believe
I fell into a chocolate coma.
So my YouTube channel started about 4 years ago, and it's all about cons, cults, and conspiracies, and I do a different topic every time, almost. And I know that I'm participating in the attention economy, but you can't see it all to the grifters. You can't just let it become a complete wasteland. This is the most recent stuff. The series I did on the science of sex and gender and politics is a topic for another day. It's fascinating, but maybe some other time. But I did want to show a little brief clip from one of the weirdest topics that I covered, which is sun gazing right here.
Do you have eyesight? Are you currently able to see my face right now? Isn't that annoying? Fortunately, the wellness influencers of TikTok have an all-natural remedy for you. It's called
Sun gazing. Sun gazing. Sun gazing.
Sun gazing.
Sun gazing.
Sun gazing. Sun gazing.
Practice sun gazing to make sun gazing a part of your routine.
content warning. This is gonna hurt. Don't do that. Oh, he looks so sunburned.
Okay, this video I thought was going to be the first video that I did of something that I hadn't already believed in at some point. You know, this wasn't a video about UFOs or something that that I had actually subscribed to at some point. And then it turned out I was wrong about that because I dug deeper. And this video was not all just about making fun of people, because I actually researched the origin of this practice where people actually believe that staring at the sun is going to help their eyesight or awaken their spiritual something. And it all comes back to this book written by this guy named William Bates. Really weird story behind him I'm not going to get into. He was a weird dude, but I don't think he had any kind of license at this point, but he opened up a practice where he was going to teach people, and did for years, teach people how to have perfect eyesight without glasses by doing like eye exercises and like stretching the muscles and irradiating the eye and staring at the sun. That was in his book as well. It turned out that I had read this book years ago. A friend had passed this to me, and I was like, oh, okay. Now this book that I read was like a later reprint where they had taken out some of the really weird shit like the sun gazing. So it was more sanitized. And it was for, it was for like the modern new age audience. Okay, I'm zero for all right now of weird beliefs that I have actually at least heard of and entertained in the past. So I really want for there to be a way for us to protect ourselves from being wrong. Like that was when I started this channel, I thought that the answer was critical thinking, right? Critical thinking is going to save us. Like we all need to be more like this guy, or we all need to be more like this guy. You know, it's like just pure logic, and let's just, use our brains to think ourselves out of these problems. I still think critical thinking is important, but I have to be honest and say that critical thinking is not what got me in, and it's not what got me out of any of these beliefs, any of these, especially the culture of it. And so I thought, well, maybe it's these cognitive distortions that I've been hearing so much about. You can go on Wikipedia and look up this list of fallacies, and you can scroll down this list. It's very, 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 very long. It keeps going and going and going. That's just the top of all of the possible logical fallacies or cognitive distortions, ways that you can be wrong, essentially. Maybe you just need to memorize this entire list, right? And then you'll never be wrong. Or at least you'll win every argument on the internet because you can point out how other people are wrong. And that's the real goal here, right? Just looking at this list, though, I don't know if you can see this, but there's argument for incredulity. And then down here, there's argument from incredulity. And then right after that is double counting. So, who edits his stuff anyway? So I have to be honest and say I don't think it's this either. Like, it's a social problem, right? We're social creatures. We rely on others. The truth is, thinking for yourself isn't a real thing. Well, I talked about this in her presentation as well. When I was in school, maybe this happened to you too, my teacher said to us, if all your friends jumped off a cliff, would you do it too? I know two things now that I didn't know then. First, thanks to this list, I know that she was committing the reductio ad absurdum fallacy. But more important than that, it is a profound question. And if we're really honest with ourselves, the answer is yes, more often than we'd like. The best way to be vulnerable to manipulation is to be completely confident that you are not vulnerable. And the answer has to be humility. This is something that I've learned over and over again. This is something that I've gotten very, very comfortable saying, and I will say it again. I was wrong. Such a powerful phrase, and I'll say it again. I was wrong. Okay, so we are almost out of time here, and normally in my presentations, I like to do, I don't know, like sometimes I act out a skit, sometimes I put on a wig, sometimes I recite a zany poem. Try to do something weird just to liven things up, because this is all going to really dry. But guys, we're in a library. Can't be too rowdy here. We're going to have story time. I wrote a book for you all, just for you. I want to read it now because I think you'll understand why. The book is called 1 Pill, 2 Pill, Red Pill, Blue Pill. A book about conspiracy, written by the one and only me, with sloppy illustrations by ChatGPT. 1 pill, 2 pill, red pill, blue pill. Says the man in the glasses, now choose what you will. He holds out his hands and he says with a wink, which one will you take? Which one do you think? The blue pill is easy. It makes you sleep tight. You'll yawn at the truth and you'll snooze through the fight. You'll dream of your job and your bills all the night. And you'll wake up believing the world is all right. You'll scroll on your phone. You'll believe all the news. You'll never ask questions if that's what you choose. But the red pill, oh boy, it's a curious brew. It opens the door to a world that's askew. A rabbit hole twisty, a mind-building track. Once you start sliding down, there's no sliding back. Enter the wonderland. Join in the show. If you know, then you know the places you'll go. Oh, the places you'll go when you go down below. Yes, take the red pill, take it now. I'll tell you why, I'll show you how. Swallow it down, it's easy, pal. And oh, what now, what now, what now? Down goes the red pill. Oh boy, what a taste. Your tongue starts to tingle, your thoughts start to race. Were the pyramids built by green men from space? Was the queen a lizard with a hologram face? Did Paul really die and was he replaced? Was Elvis abducted? Is Finland a hoax? Are birds even real? These are questions, not jokes. Yes, we're just asking questions. We're just having fun. It's all just a game till you stare at the sun. You blink and the stars start to flicker and fade. You land in a film set that someone has made. A desert of dust and a black sky of gloom. And a man with the camera shouts, "Quiet on moon!" A flag in the breeze starts to sway to and fro while Neil Armstrong leaps about in slow-mo. "Cut," yells Kubrick, "it's all going to plan." That's one small fake for Nixon, one giant leap for scams. Now some say we went there with patriotic pride, but you know the truth. The government lied. The shadows are funny, the angles askew. You don't trust what they tell you. Not you. No, not you. You're too special, you see. You're not like all the rest. So put pep in your step and puff out your chest. You're doing your research with logical leaps. You're connecting the dots, not just following sheeps. Sheeple don't believe you. Ha, what do they know? They think global warming is real when there's snow. They think vaccines are safe and fluoride is sound. They even believe that the whole earth is round. A round earth, you say. Now how can that be? I know that it's flat. I asked ChatGPT. At first the AI tried to argue with me, so I gave it a new prompt. Look here, ChatGPT. I want you to prove that the whole earth is flat. So that's just what it did. It's very helpful like that. It spit out such logic so perfectly sound that even the satellites fell to the ground. It cited some memes and some tweets and some lore. And then AI said, would you like to know more? I said yes, and it told me of chemtrails galore. Yes, chemtrails, those puffy white lines in the sky. They're spraying out something and no one knows why. Maybe it's toxins that mess with our brains with mood-making mist from those jet engine planes. No, it's weather control, that's what some people say. Or maybe it's something to turn the frogs gay. Ban it, for heaven's sakes, ban it, they say, in many red states of the US of A. Alabama, Georgia, Florida, Tennessee are nixing those chemtrails to keep us all free. All thanks to brave folks like Marjorie. She's tough and she's strong and ready to race. She'll protect us from Jews and their lasers in space. Chemtrails, they form patterns, they spell out obey, but you'll be protected with apple vinegar spray. You can buy it right here from my supplement store. Just 3 easy payments, okay, maybe 4. And you can buy more at my store, yes, much more. I've got herbs, tinctures, oils, pure pills, wellness galore. Step into my store and explore, there's much more. We've got magnets that tune up your energy vibes. We've got goggles that see through the government's lies. There's crystals that vibrate at such frequencies they'll awaken your mind. You'll be psychic with ease. Try quantum nano silver. It sparkles, it shines. It was banned by the FDA 49 times, but it cleanses your gut and awakens your mind. It may turn your skin blue, but that will take time. There's mushroom elixirs for memory and mood, and vitamin source for bioquantum food. We've got detox tea tinctures, so tell all your friends, and rectal grade coffee for that extra good cleanse. We've got stickers that block out your smart meter's rays and zombie repellent for those bad zombie days. There's charcoal shampoo that blocks CMF and a Reiki-powered toothbrush you just wave near yourself. There's oxygen water, the best you can get, and there's hydrogen water. It's certified wet. There's water that's charged up with moon energy and an extra smart water to balance your chi. Our probiotic candles smell vaguely like poo, but it's organic poo, so it's good for you too. Our Sasquatch bone broth will nourish your spleen. Yes, it's perfectly normal to turn a bit green. Oh, the things you can buy, or the things I can sell. Who knew it's so profitable, keeping you well? It's on sale, don't be shy, fill your cart, buy a load, and because you're so special, take this discount code. Yes, products and wellness, they go hand in hand, and these trends are so trendy they spread through the land. It's on every podcast, all over your feed. You'll learn about things you don't know that you need. And we're forming a movement. We're marching the streets. We're digital soldiers with memes in our tweets. Vaccines cause diseases, that's what we say. And we won't let the fact checkers get in our way. We're throwing out Tylenol right in the bin. It's all part of Make Whoville Healthy Again. This RFK fellow, he sure knows his stuff. He starved out those brainworms. They got nothing but fluff. He made us all healthy by banning food dyes. He used bezel oil to boil French fries. That's right, your green eggs will be bland, and roast beef served raw. Isn't that grand? Raw roast beast. Who could say no to that? Now wait, you might say, I thought government lies. But why are we believing these government guys? Hey, chill. Now relax. We should all trust the plan. Now that you're here in conspiracy land, you're with us, so don't fuss. You should not rock the bus. Do your research, ask questions, just do not question us. We're the truth seekers. We never spread lies. We've dotted our T's and we've crossed all our I's. We made up this story, so we're the good guys. To be truly awake, here's what you must do. Just sit back and let the influencers influence you. Be a good red pillar, accept what you're sold. Once you think for yourself, you must do what you're told. So now, that's your thought. Will you join us or not? Be it NPC no one or a hero of the plot? That's the question, you see. Which pill will it be? It's up to you. Take pill 1 or pill 2. Hey, what did you say? Hey, what's that you say? You do not like them, so say you? You do not like pills red and blue? Now that's a choice that will not do. You must take one, not none or 2. You do not like them, so you say you must pick one today. Now say what you have to say. Well, I do not want to take your pills. I do not like them. They cause ills. I will not take them here or there. I will not take them anywhere. I will not take them on the road. I do not want your discount code. I will not type in with a meme. I do not like your pills, I scream. I will not wear a shiny hat. I do not think the earth is flat. I do not buy this guru scam that food dyes, poison, eggs, and ham. I do not have to be a sheep. This does not mean I've gone to sleep. I will not always believe the news, but I also don't accept your views. So keep your pills, your pitch, your plan. I think my thoughts, because I can. So think your thoughts and use your head. Don't let loud mouths choose instead. For truth's not red and truth's not blue. It lives in questions asked by you. You cannot serve the whole world's ills with easy answers from bright pills. The world's a maze of facts and spin, but wisdom starts where doubt steps in. Don't take the red pill or the blue. Find out for yourself what's true, and always, always think this through. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you. Sorry the microphones were cutting out. That was the government.
Yeah, I figured.
Does anybody have questions for Coleman? Are you up for some questions?
Okay.
Okay. I am interested to know why you think you didn't have the critical thinking skills for this. Why were they lacking?
So when I was in school, the last chapter of every last page of every chapter in my textbook would be critical thinking questions. And those questions would all ask you to regurgitate points from the chapter. So that was critical thinking from school. I don't think it's taught very well. And I also think that we overrate our ability to think for ourselves. I've made that point already, but we really are not, we are not evolved to be, we're not brains in jars. We're not evolved to be isolated thinkers. And so I think that if you take anyone, and there's been lots of examples of this in history, if you take anyone and you uproot them from the people that they're normally surrounded with and plop them in the middle of a group of other people, they're going to start to think differently. It takes a lot to fight an entire tide of other people. I don't think anybody is prepared for that in school. But I do think that critical thinking is such an important thing to be taught in school, given that it has limitations. Given that it has limitations, we still need to be teaching kids in science class that science is not a collection of facts to be memorized, that science is a process by which we test theories and learn, and essentially science is a process of proving ourselves wrong, right? That's what we want to do. That's when it's working. When I learn that I'm wrong, that means I'm doing something right. Great teachers are doing it, and good for them, but I don't think it's being done at scale.
I know this is a complex matter, but I notice on social issue groups, a lot of the people are female, and I notice maybe down the rabbit hole, you can help me with this. Is it mainly male?
Sorry, is what mainly male or female?
That going down the rabbit hole with like the RFK stuff and the political theories, is there a degree of misogyny in them?
In some of them, yes, but I think that there are rabbit holes that are tailored to every demographic. And so there are rabbit holes for, there's MLMs that are set up just for married women, for bored housewives. And there's MLMs set up just for, single guys. Whatever your demographic, you can find a niche for yourself to get sucked into. But certainly within some of them, within some of those spaces, like the manosphere, absolutely, yes, lots of misogyny going on there. I appreciate the questions.
I went through 16 years of indoctrination by the Catholic Church. If you can believe in a religion, why not believe in all this other stuff?
There's a misperception that cults are all religious, and they're not. There can be cults formed around any sort of... I don't think that it's about the belief, honestly. Cults have been known to even change their beliefs. It's about following a leader. So whatever the leader wants you to think, as long as you are in step with the rest of the group, it doesn't really matter what the belief is, whether it's religious or not.
So I was listening to this guy who's kind of in charge of the Flat Earth Society, and something in me felt that he didn't truly believe the Earth was flat until he saw that there was money in it, and then he truly started to believe it. What is your experience in terms of, is it belief first and then, here's a way to make money, or here's a way to make money, and I think I believe that.
It's such a good question. Like, you look at some of these influencers online and you're like, you can't really believe that, right? Like, you don't actually. I think some of them do. And also, the pyramid is very wide at the base. And so you've got a lot of true believers who are not making money, but they're following the belief. And then you got people at the top, and it's the people at the top that I wonder about the most. Because if you're at the bottom, you're not making money off of it. I mean, maybe you're being promised that you'll make money off of it because the guy at the top is. But,
I think you have to really believe in order to be at the bottom of the pyramid. But the people at the top, some of them are true believers, and some of them, I think the majority of them, this is just my opinion, are like our friend JP, who just don't care.
Hi, I'm a retired computer programmer, and I'm sure other people did this phrase, GIGO, garbage in, garbage out.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter how great your critical thinking is if your material coming in sucks, you can't come up with a good conclusion. Now,
That's
like
true.
for every morning, I check CNN and gag Fox News because I want to see what both sides are kind of doing. Do you have any suggestions like where you can get good input to try to use your critical thinking?
Great question. No, I don't. I don't personally have any recommendations for you. I'd be curious to hear other people's recommendations because there's a lot of garbage out there for sure, and I have not yet found any sort of access to a pure source of truth. That'd be great.
Anything that Trump is against is probably.
Do you worry about your safety?
Should I be worried?
I know Steve Hassan.
Yes.
He can't let people know where he is
Mm.
because he's scared of his safety.
I don't know. Maybe if I became more popular, I would get more stalkers.
Like and subscribe.
Yeah, please. You can help.
Coleman, for $39.95 a month, we can help protect you. I just have a suggestion for a news source that I only found a few months ago called Ground News.
Mm-hmm.
It's sort of an AI-generated summary of different news stories, and they provide a summary, and then below that, they give you anywhere from 10 to 50 sources, and they tell you if they lean right, if they lean left, or they're more central. So it's just something worth checking out.
I will add that this isn't a news source per se, but I still am fond of Wikipedia. I know some people who edit Wikipedia a lot, and I know that there's a lot of skeptics and critical thinkers who are centered around doing editing of Wikipedia articles, and they do quite a good job.
One or two more questions? Anybody else?
What is your opinion of historians that have social media platforms? And I noticed there's one particular one who started out with everything that was written had a source.
Mm-hmm.
And as time goes on, she would start by saying, oh, I'm editorializing here.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as time goes on, she's starting to editorialize and not even say she's editorializing. But over time, I used to trust her completely.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm wondering, is this factual? Is this opinion? Is this...
Are we talking about Heather Cox Richardson?
Of course.
Okay. Yeah.
I was just curious as to what you had to say about that.
I mean, she's on social media, and social media, there's this phenomenon called audience capture, where people are going to, people who post on social media are being pushed in a certain direction by revenue and by audience. And I'm not accusing her of anything, just saying what the phenomenon is out there, which is that social media pushes anybody who's posting to do more extreme content, be more polarizing, post more things that make people angry and upset because it drives engagement. I feel that pressure a little bit myself with my YouTube channel, but I'm not that big, so I can still just do whatever I want. I mean, ultimately, people can do whatever they want, but there are market forces that are going to be pushing them in certain directions as well.
Last thing.
Yeah, just the Heather Cox Richardson. If you get her emails and email newsletters, she has her sources at the bottom. If you read it just on Facebook, it's not there.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, everybody. This was really great. So
Thanks.
another round of applause for Coleman. Thank you so much.